This story shook the entire country, leaving even police officers in tears. An 11-year-old boy vanishes from his home in Colorado. His stepmother, well, she claimed he just went over to a friend's house. What followed became one of the largest searches in the state's history. Hundreds of volunteers, the FBI, everyone came out looking for the child, but he wouldn't be found for another 2 months, over 1,200 miles away, down in Florida. Some road workers there discovered an old, heavy suitcase under a bridge. Once police got it open, they immediately understood the search had come to an end. So then they were left with a much more horrifying question. I mean, just how sick and twisted does a person have to be to do that to a child? Look, this whole tragedy could have been prevented, but the people around him, they just didn't see the warning signs. To help change that, I put together Save a Child, a practical guide that came from analyzing 5,000 real cases. It teaches you how to recognize danger, then take action. So, if you want a copy, just drop a plus sign in the comments. Once we hit 100 of those, a link will pop up in the pinned comment. In the meantime, you know the drill, tradition. Besides the plus sign, let me know where you're watching from, what time it is for you, maybe what the weather's like. For real, it's just pouring rain outside my window right now. Also, don't forget to subscribe. A like would be appreciated. If you share this video, well, let's just say you've got a guaranteed spot in heaven. Or, at least I like to think so. I go by Dwight. All right, let's get into it. So before we dive into this complicated, dark story, I want you to picture for a second the place where it all happened. We're talking about Colorado Springs, Colorado. Look, if you've never been there, you're looking at a place that seems like a postcard. Seriously. On one side, you have the majestic snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains, the famous Pikes Peak. On the other, you get these unique red rock formations in a park they call Garden of the Gods. The city has a very strong military presence. You've got the Air Force Academy plus a large army base there. The area also has a reputation for its religiosity, sorta a hub for evangelical communities. Overall, the town functions as a place people move to for a wholesome, healthy life, to raise their kids around nature, far from the chaos of major cities. That's exactly why what happened in one of its quiet family neighborhoods seems even more wild, more incomprehensible. Let's go back to 2015. That was the year a 31-year-old Letitia Hunt married, or so she thought, the love of her life, a man named Al Stouch. From that moment, she became the mother in a large, what you'd call a blended family. She already had her own daughter, Harley, from her late ex-husband. Now she was becoming a stepmother to Al's 2 children, Lena, but also Ganon. Al shared their custody with his ex-wife, Landon Bullard. On paper, it all looked like the beginning of a new, happy chapter. Believe me, looking at Leticia, you'd think she came perfectly prepared for the role of a caregiver. Her academic record came off as, well, impressive to say the least. A bachelor's degree in political science, a master's in teaching, then even a doctorate in education. You'd assume a person with that kind of background would have to be a model of patience, of professionalism. She did work in education in South Carolina, mostly as a teacher's aide, but she would occasionally find full-time teaching positions too. Her LinkedIn profile even highlighted one key role from that time working with at-risk youth. But when the first warning signs started to surface, they popped up right there in her professional life. In 2016, her South Carolina teaching license got suddenly suspended. The reason? She worked for one school district for only 7 days, then just walked away. Of course, Leticia had her own version of events. She claimed she became a victim of harassment, then retaliation. According to her, she asked to be released from her contract because of her husband Al's upcoming move with the National Guard. They supposedly refused, then started to bully her. She even alleged the whole situation had a connection to Al's ex-wife, being the niece of the district superintendent. She threatened a lawsuit with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. When her claims were finally investigated, investigators ultimately found them unsubstantiated. They found zero proof for her story. After her 180-day suspension ended, Leticia just continued her career. Over the next few years, she moved through several more schools in South Carolina, never staying anywhere for long. Eventually, in January of 2019, the family relocated to Colorado for Al's work. A new state, a new life. They settled in the Lorson Ranch community. Leticia, Al, Ganon, Lena, plus Harley, all together under one roof. The kids got enrolled in a new school. It really seemed like a fresh start for everyone. Leticia quickly got her teaching license in Colorado, started substitute teaching, then landed a permanent position at French elementary school. It looked like her career was back on track. She even received a job offer from Mountain Ridge Middle School. But on January 24th, 2020, right in the middle of her new employee orientation, her conditional offer was rescinded. The reason cited involved conflicting information found during her background check. It seems her past had caught up with her again. Luckily for her, she still had her job at French Elementary. Now, this remains just speculation, but many believe that exact moment, the rescinded job offer, another professional humiliation, could have become the catalyst, the final straw that set off the chain of horrific events that would unfold. Because just 2 days later, on January 26th, while Al was away at military training in Oklahoma, with her daughter Harley at work, Letitia took Ganon, then Lena, on a hike in the Garden of the Gods. On the surface, it looked like a typical, idyllic family outing. As usual, she posted photos to Facebook, smiling faces, picturesque landscapes. To the outside world, they were a normal, happy family enjoying a day off. But what happened after they got home was far from that perfect picture. According to Leticia's version, which she immediately texted to Al, Ganon had been playing, accidentally knocked over a candle, then burned a spot on the carpet. She insisted the boy, though really startled, was totally fine. Her next actions, however, didn't look like she was reassuring him, but more like she wanted to make a point. She recorded a short clip where Ganon appears upset, then shared it on Facebook. In the video, her serious tone tells him he has to think about which of his belongings they might sell to cover the repair. This wasn't ordinary discipline. It came across as a very harsh reaction to a small mistake, presented publicly online. The next morning, January 27th, began with more troubling signs. Leticia texted Al that Ganon felt sick, so he wouldn't be going to school. Then she called her job at the elementary school, reporting she couldn't come in because her stepfather had supposedly just been hit by a car. You know, it became one of those strange, manipulative half-truths that, as we'll see, would become her signature style. Her stepfather really had been hit by a car, but it happened many years ago. She took a real fact from her past, then used it as a convenient excuse. Then, later that evening, after almost 12 hours had passed, around 7 o'clock, Leticia made another call. This time, it was to emergency services. Her call was redirected to a non-urgent line, where she, in a calm voice, explained her stepson Ganon had gone to a friend's house but was late coming back. She said she even stopped by the friend's home to check, but didn't find him there. When the operator, following routine questions, asked for names and an address, Leticia couldn't provide them. For someone who claimed to have just been there, this was a major inconsistency. It was the first moment her calm story began to look less like genuine concern and more like something that didn't quite add up. Nevertheless, at 7:32 p.m., Ganon Stotch's name was officially logged in state and national systems as absent. Around 10 p.m., sheriff's deputies came to the house, carried out a check with Leticia's permission, but reported nothing unusual. The next morning, January 28th, Leticia's actions became even more strange, more calculated. She got into her Volkswagen Tiguan, drove to the airport, left it in a short-term parking lot, then rented another car, a Kia Rio. It was in this rental car that she went to pick up Al, who, upon hearing the terrible news, had dropped everything at his training, then taken the first flight home. Her explanation seemed absurd. She said she didn't want to run up the mileage on her leased car. For Al, this became the first loud, blaring alarm bell. In the middle of an emergency with his son missing, his wife worried about the terms of a lease agreement, it just made no sense. Then she lied again, saying her own vehicle was parked at the elementary school where she worked. Al, maybe already suspecting something, drove over there to check. Of course, her car was nowhere near the place. Meanwhile, Ganon's biological mother, Landon, had flown into Colorado to join the search, which grew more desperate by the hour. They spent the entire day together, posting flyers, calling friends, trying to find any kind of lead. Then that evening, around 7, Leticia announced she had to run some errands. Alone, she drove straight to the airport, silently returned the rented Kia, got into her own Tiguan that was waiting for her in the lot, then vanished. So, 3 hours after she drove away from the airport in her Tiguan, at 10:30 p.m., Leticia was picked up by her daughter, Harley, at the intersection of two boulevards. But her own car, that same Tiguan, was nowhere to be found. What was Leticia doing during those hours? Where did she go? Where was her car? Investigators later referred to this period as the January 28th gap. As we'll see, that gap would become very significant. But she had barely gotten into her daughter's car when, just 15 minutes later, at 10:45 p.m., she sent a message to investigators. This wasn't an ordinary note. It was a rambling, anxious stream of thoughts that could make any detective take notice. She started by asking what they needed from her, insisting she had nothing. Then she suggested that maybe someone was setting her up, She mentioned hearing confusing things, even saying she could sense conversations around her. It came across as chaotic and unclear, more like someone trying to deflect attention than provide clarity. Detective Bethel's response was calm, direct. He just told her to come talk to him, explaining he simply needed information to find Ganon. No accusations, no pressure, just a request for help. The next morning, January 29th, Leticia voluntarily agreed to meet with investigators. But here too, her behavior seemed far from that of a grieving stepmother. First, she showed up 2 hours late. Second, she arrived in her Tiguan, which, after its mysterious disappearance the day before, now looked immaculate, suspiciously clean. You know, if investigators had any doubts left about her strange behavior up to this point, this interview likely erased them for good. Because it was there that Leticia began to put forward a series of new, even more bizarre claims.
And then just because you're in here and you're in our building and stuff, do you mind if I just pat you down really quick? That's how we hug. I just need you to face that way for me.
I wasn't sure if you needed me to.
Yeah, go ahead and just put your arms out for me and just separate your legs slightly for me.
Okay.
There you go. Hey. How you doing?
Good.
Did you get some sleep?
I haven't eaten today.
Oh my goodness. Do you want something to eat? I've got some stuff.
I would love that.
What would you like? I've got some pizza Hot Pockets and some tamales and a breakfast burrito.
Yeah, pizza Hot Pockets would be good. But I mean, you don't have to like.
No, we can get you something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So what I want you to do is take me through Sunday into Monday, and be as detailed as possible as to what you were doing, who was there, where you were at, how long you spent, etc., etc. Because the more detail I have, it might spark something for me.
Is it okay if I take my notes out? Because like I wrote down all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was like, I tried to write down anything he might like say, and just in case, because I have like notes from different things or whatever.
So, Leticia sits in an interview room 2 days after Ganon was reported absent. She starts sharing her account, beginning with Sunday, January 26th. She calmly talks about their hike in the Garden of the Gods, about how they took happy family photos. Then she moves on to the incident with the candle that supposedly marked the carpet, mentioning she let Ganon stay home the next morning because he wasn't feeling well. Then her story takes a very strange turn. She explains that a sense of panic just washed over her, so worried about how Al might react to the carpet issue that she was very eager to get it fixed as quickly as possible, before her husband returned. To this problem came across as, to put it mildly, unconventional. A normal person in that situation would probably call a professional carpet cleaning service, but not Leticia. According to her, she handled the problem differently. She went to a nearby construction site where new houses were going up, walked up to a group of workers, then asked if anyone wanted to earn some extra cash by repairing a small patch of carpet. By some amazing coincidence, according to her, one of the men who introduced himself as Eduardo agreed to take the job. It's even weirder. Leticia claimed that she, without much thought, gave this person, Eduardo, the code to her garage.
Okay, and then, so you leave around 10-something, and then you get back around 2-something.
I feel like it was like 2:35, 2:25, 2-something. He goes in through the garage, I go in, I'm getting ready to put up the things, stuff like that. And this is where it got, I made a mistake. This is it.
Okay.
And the guy was in there. And I gave him the code.
The guy from the...
Yeah, it's all my fault. Because I gave him our code to fix the carpet.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have.
Okay.
And he... He was inside. And I heard something, and so I walked to the storage closet to open the storage closet. And when I do, it's him. And he was standing in there. He had on gloves.
In the storage closet?
Yes.
Okay.
He had one of the guns. Okay. And I was terrified. He was trying to rape me, and I told her. And I said, I have to tell you about this.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there freaking out, okay, what do you want me to do? Blah blah blah. So, and then he asked me to give him a suitcase, and I gave him a brown suitcase, so then he did that, and then I blacked out again. I was having a panic attack. And then, I don't know what happened from there. I really don't. I don't know. I just know that I did lie. I did. When they came, I did say, get and left, whatever, you know that.
Okay.
But he never did. He never left to go play. I just didn't know what to do, and I panicked in the moment. And I didn't want Albert to be like trying to hurt us, because we kind of get in a lot of fights. Yeah. And I'm sorry that it might have delayed, you know, like looking for Ganon. I do not know where Ganon was. I do not know. I do not know his whereabouts from that point on. But it was still in the same time frame that I gave you guys. So that wasn't, there was no contradictory to that same time frame, because it still was about 4 o'clock.
Do you need to use the restroom or anything like that?
No, I'm actually, I mean, am I like free to leave, or?
We're not holding you here. We'd like to get you over to the hospital for that.
No,
exam.
I would totally do that, but I really am. I just want to get some food and take a minute, and I can drive myself to the hospital. I don't want to feel like I'm some, you know, person they're going to look at differently because I am showing up with, you know, police and people, and I just.
Let me go check on a couple of things really quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay?
Okay, you said I was free to go.
Are you wanting to leave right now?
I'm really hungry. I'm thirsty. Look at my lips; they're chapped.
Okay. Can you give me just a few minutes to just check to make sure that I've covered everything that I need to cover, and then I'll come back in?
She said that I would be able to go.
And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm asking if you can give me a few minutes. That's all.
I can. If you can, you just call me, or. I mean.
Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
Okay. So can you show me how to leave, please?
I have to go over here. Let me get somebody to escort you out.
Okay.
Hey.
Hi. She said that I could go.
Well, can you talk to me about what's
Can
going
I?
on?
But you told me I could.
I know, but I left.
I understand
So we started
that.
and I left, and I just want to get the fill in. So I have a couple questions about Sunday, if you're okay filling that in. I know you're tired.
I'm tired, and
But-
you said that I could go. I just want to take a break. That's all I'm asking for.
Where do you want to?
That means I want to
Do you
just
wanna
go rest. Like she said, I could drive myself to the hospital, so I just don't want.
What do we need to go to the hospital for?
Am I
Are you
able
okay?
to just go? I mean, you can know why I'm going to the hospital, because she wants to get DNA, like, or to have your body checked for, you know, so
When did that happen?
it happened on Monday.
On Monday? Okay.
I can't.
So let me make sure that we've got everything lined up for a SANE exam. That's what she was talking about.
Yeah,
right?
she's gonna do that, and I'm gonna just take a break. I want to get food. Look at my lips; they're chapped. I haven't.
You want some food?
I know.
What do you want? What do you want to eat?
Okay, she just said I could be escorted out.
Okay.
I
Get-
promise you have my number. I haven't not.
You're done with all this?
Right, I haven't not communicated with you. I have been
Are you done with that coke?
nothing but. Can I not take it?
You can if you want.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if you were done with it. We recycle them too. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm good.
Okay. Hang tight for me just real quick. Let me make sure that she doesn't have any other questions because
But
she finished up.
She just said
Okay, I get that. I get that. Let's just let me double check with her.
She said I could go. That she.
But she finished up the interview.
Are
I
you
don't know.
holding me here?
I'm not holding
Okay,
you.
so can someone walk me out?
You want to leave?
I will.
Okay.
I will clearly answer your questions. I just want to take a break.
So, having laid out this, to put it mildly, bizarre story about the mysterious construction worker, Eduardo Leticia, seemed to decide her performance was over. She expressed something that looked like remorse for having so carelessly trusted a stranger with the garage code. Then she made it clear the conversation had ended. She'd had enough. She wanted to leave. But, as you can imagine, the investigators had very different plans. After such a confusing, frankly, implausible story, they had no intention of just letting her go. Before she could walk out, they needed to do a few more things that counted as standard procedure in investigations like this one. The first item on their list involved what, in today's world, serves as perhaps the most critical source of information. They asked for her cell phone. It was a logical step. The phone could confirm or disprove her timeline, show who she'd been communicating with, plus reveal where she'd actually been.
I understand. I just want to get directions.
I get it. And so once again, we're back in the interview room.
Okay.
We're on camera. Mitch Maholko, lieutenant with the investigation section.
Okay.
Okay. So at this point in time, what we had just discussed outside, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that you decided that you wish to leave and that there's no problem with that. I asked if...
you didn't ask. You took.
Okay, so...
You took.
Understood.
Okay.
So at that point in time, you relinquished the phone to me. I
didn't relinquish the phone. You took it.
Listen, ma'am. I took the phone.
Okay.
And I told you that we would be applying for a search warrant.
Okay, you said applying.
That's correct.
Sir, I'm not going anywhere. I literally just need directions. I mean, I have family numbers in there I don't have.
Understood.
Following the seizure of her cell phone, investigators proceeded to a second, equally important step. Their next move involved getting a sample of her DNA. So the source for this sample, as it turned out, came from an ordinary Coca-Cola can.
Okay. So you need a colder bottle of water
What, you just
or a
took my
Gatorade?
Coke? Are you taking my drink too? What in the world?
But when investigators moved on to their third, unstated task to keep her in the room while a warrant was being prepared, Leticia put on a real show. She suddenly started stuffing napkins down her pants, complaining of chest pains plus shortness of breath. It was such a sudden, dramatic episode that she was immediately taken to the hospital in an ambulance, during which ride she refused to speak a single word to the paramedics. You know, the moment she arrived at the hospital, her condition, as if by magic, improved. Doctors found no serious health problems. While she was being examined, the warrant to obtain her DNA samples was finalized. But since she technically hadn't been arrested yet, after being discharged, she just slipped out of the building without saying a word to the police. An unknown person picked her up. Then she was later seen meeting her daughter a few miles away, having abandoned her Volkswagen Tiguan to be confiscated by investigators. Investigators now had two key pieces of evidence: her vehicle plus her phone. They decided to start with the car. The data from the onboard Jeep's navigator immediately began to fill in that January 28th gap. It turned out that during those 3 hours, her Tiguan had traveled to neighboring Douglas County. There, in a rural area off Highway 105, it stopped for about 12 minutes, after which its signal disappeared. After collecting that data, they turned to her phone. It was right there, in her search history, that they found a veritable diary of her thoughts, her own private therapy session with Google. Even before Ganon went missing, her searches painted a picture of deep resentment. She looked up things like how she was overworked, taking care of her stepchildren while their mother didn't help. Another search was about her husband's ex-wife doing nothing for her own kids. She even made a sarcastic search, wondering if her husband's ex would send her a Valentine, seeing as she was the one raising the kids. But the searches made on January 27th, the day Ganon disappeared, were far more sinister. First, an attempt to create an alibi, a search for, "My son burned the carpet, how to fix it." Then her emotional state, "I don't like my stepson," repeated several times. "Should I get a divorce?" Then came suspicion plus desperation. "Al Stouch cheating. Find me a rich boyfriend who wants someone to take care of his kids." Then the queries turn ice cold. Searches for what happens with certain types of serious injuries. How to remove stains from bed sheets. Can you cover stains with paint? Finally, a search for the El Paso Sheriff's Office phone number. Text messages completed this picture. Around 5 p.m. on January 27th, Leticia asked her daughter Harley to buy carpet cleaner, trash bags, plus baking soda. In the Notes app on her phone, detectives found something truly wild. A list of questions, as if she were preparing for an interrogation. Questions like, in the Ganon Stouch disappearance case, do you intend to tell the truth? Or, a question asking, are you responsible for what happened to him? 2 days later, on January 29th, she was Googling websites that offer fake polygraph test results. After all this, the day after her interrogation, Ganon's status was officially changed from runaway to an endangered missing status. This allowed the FBI to get involved, turning the search into one of the largest operations in the region's history. It was at this exact moment, with the entire country's attention focused on the search for her stepson, that Leticia decided to give an interview to a local TV station. While standing with her back to the camera,
"You are?"
I am Tisha Stout, which is Ganon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case, I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that. 2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation I was told I wasn't complying.
I should try and clarify here, not necessarily crime rates, but the way that people are reacting online to rumors about you with the search.
Oh yes, wow. The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows and maybe they have all these theories on, we are going to find Ganon. And that's the main goal that we all have, my family has. Just because you haven't seen us, we have that same goal, and we've been out searching. My aunt has been out searching. My family has been out searching. We all have been doing that together so that we could protect each other. I'm just ready for Ganon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Ganon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Any message for Ganon?
The message for Ganon I have is, Ganon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband. We just wanted to add a message to Ganon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Ganon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
So, right after her strange interview, Leticia makes her next move. She rents a new vehicle, a Nissan Altima. But this time, she no longer held a step ahead of them. The investigators, without telling her, had placed a GPS tracker on the car. Now, every move she made fell under their close watch. First, according to the tracker, Leticia plus her daughter, Harley, stopped by the house to pick up some things. Then they stayed the night at a hotel downtown. The next day, around 3:30, Leticia got behind the wheel again. About an hour later, her route became extremely interesting. She drove to that same rural area, to the very same deserted spot where, according to her own car's GPS, she had stopped for 12 minutes during that mysterious January 28th gap. She returned to the place she likely thought was her secret. After staying there for a short time, she went back to the hotel. Then, they just left. Leticia plus her teenage daughter set off on a long road trip across the country. First to Florida, Pensacola, Pace, Orlando. Then back to South Carolina, where they planned to stay for a whole month. But against the backdrop of Ganon being reported absent, this journey felt like an attempt to distance herself. While Leticia was traveling, law enforcement back in Colorado worked tirelessly. They were turning over every stone, conducting interrogations, collecting footage from every possible camera, talking with neighbors. They even contacted waste management companies, hoping the responsible party might have discarded items in a very ordinary way. The public actively helped, sending in thousands of tips. Although many of them were false leads, one tip turned out to be pure gold. It came from a neighbor of the Stouch family who had a security camera installed. This camera had captured something that completely destroyed Leticia's version of events. On the recording from January 27th, the day he was reported absent at 10:13 a.m., the footage shows Leticia getting into a red pickup truck parked in her driveway. Then, a moment later, Ganon gets into the back of the truck, alive, healthy, several hours before she would report him as absent. After that, the truck drives away.
Tonight, that new video could break open the case of a missing 11-year-old in El Paso County.
His stepmother first reported him missing last Monday after she says he went running to a friend's house.
Well, tonight, the neighbor's surveillance video is raising questions. He says it shows Ganon's stepmother, Leticia Stout, getting into a truck with Ganon and later returning without him. And the video could change the timeline of events.
Denver 7's Jason Grenauer live down in the Springs tonight. And Jason, investigators are now looking at that video.
Yes, that video was given to investigators here at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office yesterday, the same day that crime scene investigators were back out at the house looking for new evidence. And if that video shows what the neighbor who took it says it does, it could change everything.
That morning when I saw her back the truck up and him get in.
The neighbor of missing 11-year-old Ganon Stauch says this security video shows the boy getting into a red pickup with his stepmother on the day of his disappearance.
My Xfinity camera, it picked it up. It picked up the young lady taking him, well, it picked up him getting into the vehicle and her taking him off about 10:16 that morning.
4 hours later,
and then she returned about 2:16 without him.
Ganon was reported missing by his stepmother later that day. A spokesperson for the El Paso County Sheriff's Department tells ABC News they do not dispute the neighbor's description of that video, but wouldn't comment further today.
February 4th, 2020. This day became a turning point for the investigation. It was then that the sheriff's office received that same recording from the neighbor's camera, the one showing Ganon getting into the truck. At the exact same time detectives were getting this key piece of evidence, another group of investigators was searching the Stauch family home again, this time looking for new, more thorough evidence. During these repeated, more meticulous searches, strange findings began to surface. In the dishwasher, for example, they discovered carpet cleaning brushes, which they suspected held fibers from the spot where that supposed candle fire had happened. Nearby, they found an empty gallon bottle of vinegar, a known cleaning agent. They also identified a firearm bearing DNA traces associated with Leticia. But the most important discovery, the one that had somehow been missed during the first superficial search on January 27th, turned out to be far more disturbing than any of them could have imagined. They returned to Ganon's bedroom. This time, they saw what had previously been hidden. On the walls, there were faint traces consistent with biological material. On his mattress, dark marks. The evidence indicated that material had penetrated through the carpet and padding, reaching the subfloor. It all pointed to a serious incident having taken place in that room. Additional traces associated with Ganon were also identified elsewhere on the garage floor and on the bumper of Leticia's car, despite an apparent effort to clean before her first visit to the police. To understand the full scale of what they had found, investigators used a special reagent called Blue Star Forensic. This chemical substance reacts to certain compounds, producing a luminescent effect in low light. It reveals even those traces that have been meticulously washed away, wiped down, or are simply invisible to the naked eye. The body cam footage that will now be shown was recorded right after the house was treated with this reagent. So that you can better understand what you are seeing on the screen, you will also hear commentary from the officer himself, the one who wore this camera, plus documented what he saw.
The room is normally set up so that the blue and red table is generally sitting underneath the window. This bed would be set up, ready to go. The second bed in the room would occupy this voided location, the southwest corner of the room. Of note in Ganon's room is the large stain in the southeast corner of the room. The markings that you see on the wall are marking spatter marks that were denoted by the Metro Crime Lab. Each of these stickers is indicating pattern that was denoted and documented.
When the forensic experts finished their work, the picture of what had happened in Ganon's bedroom became even more horrifying. The nature of the biological evidence and its locations on the walls and bedding told a silent but powerful story. This wasn't the result of a single accidental injury. No, according to their conclusions, the traces indicated that multiple serious incidents had occurred in that small room. It had become a place of horror. It was at this moment, when the cold, scientific facts met reality, that any remaining hope or doubt for Ganon's father, Al, finally vanished. According to those who were with him when he was shown the evidence, that same video from the neighbor's camera of Ganon getting in the truck, plus photographs documenting material that had penetrated into the subfloor beneath his bed, it became a point of no return. The wall of lies that Leticia had so carefully constructed just crumbled to dust. Those who saw his reaction described how Al just broke down. He started crying, then through his tears, he could only manage to say what had now become obvious to everyone, that she had lied. That she had lied about Ganon going to a friend's house. It was an acknowledgement not just of her lie, but of the terrible truth that stood behind it. A day later, on February 5th, 2020, Al, along with Ganon's biological mother, Landon, did what all parents do. In such a situation, they appealed to the public. They recorded a moving video statement in which, holding back tears, they begged anyone with any information about their son to come forward. It represented a desperate cry for help from two heartbroken parents who now understood they weren't just searching for their son, but for answers to much more difficult questions.
How do I describe my G-Man, my Ganon? Ganon's my hero. I love him so much. He's not only my hero, he has multiple people that call him his hero as well. He has so many family members that just look up to him at such a small age. He's full of life. He's happy. He's energetic. He loves sports. He loves Sonic. He loves going outside, playing with his friends, his sister, his neighbor, especially Braden. This neighborhood basically gives you a true example of who my son is. Everybody coming together, all the smiles that people have. This is why I have hope, because I feel it. This is Ganon truly speaking to our community. Ganon he loves blue, he loves Sonic, he's into coding, he loves riding his bicycle with his sister, and I know that he's missing that right now. This week has been awful. It's been more than a roller coaster ride. It's been more than emotional mess. I don't even have answers for my feelings other than I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I will never hear his voice, that I'll never hear him run and say, "Mommy," that I'll never hear those corny jokes that he always tells every single day. He has to tell me a joke. He looks forward to telling me something silly. And I'm afraid that I may never see that again or hear it. I don't want to believe that, because that means that I'm giving up hope, and I'm not giving up hope because my son is full of hope. So I'm urging anyone that has any leads, credible leads, if you're too afraid because you know something, a kid just doesn't disappear and no one sees him. It's not how this works. So if you have anything that's credible, if you're afraid, don't worry about it. Imagine my son, how afraid he is. Imagine how afraid Ganon is. So please call, please write. If you need to have someone else to do it for you, please do. Because my son deserves to be here. He deserves to be here.
Following this appeal, public support strengthened once more, letting the investigation push forward. Over the next few weeks, while law enforcement kept searching for Ganon, they also managed to document Leticia repeatedly altering her story during phone calls with Al. The first of these changes involved her new claim that an unidentified person had remained inside the house, with Ganon at the very moment officers arrived to take the report regarding his absence.
The police came. He was in the house.
Where was he at in the house?
I didn't know at the time. I thought they were going to find him because the guy was like, "Can we please search the house?" And I said, "Sure."
Okay.
Terrified, which is why I sent Lena and Harley to Dollar Store and all these places.
Okay. All right. Well, that's huge. That's huge, because now we can look at different camera time frames and all that, and we can look at different angles.
The second change to her story proved even more convoluted. In her new version, the same unidentified person had been in her vicinity that evening, and at some point, he gained access to her truck.
I'll give you his name. I swear to you.
Give me his name.
When I tell you this part, this is why I want immunity.
Okay.
This dude, he followed me. The guy had followed us to Petco, and as I was pulling off to go up the Palmer Lake area, somebody was laying down in the road when I turned around and came back the other way, and this dude gets in the truck with us. He was so scared. He came with us all the way back to the house. When we get there, he's still in your car at this time. We all get out. The guy was with us the whole time.
Okay.
The whole entire time. I asked him, what did he want? He could take everything he wants. He could rob us. He could do whatever he wanted. Have it all. There was a struggle. There was everything back and forth. Terrified to say anything because he had the gun. It was just terrifying. All I could hear was Ganon screaming. I didn't know what was going on. People keep saying that. It is Quincy Brown.
Quincy Brown. So Quincy Brown is the one who has him.
It's worth explaining that the frustration in Al's voice when Leticia named Quincy Brown wasn't because he felt unhappy about getting a name that could lead to his son. The reason came down to who Quincy Brown happened to be, a high-profile fugitive whose photograph had recently appeared in local news. Since his photograph had recently appeared in the local news, the most likely scenario suggested that Leticia had simply used the name after seeing it on TV. By that point, investigators had already disproven many of Leticia's claims, with the leads she provided repeatedly resulting in dead ends. So, investigators continued their own search in the area of Highway 105 plus Perry Park Road, the place where, according to her Jeep's data, she had stopped during the January 28th gap. It was there they found a piece of particle board that had a small biological stain on it. Further analysis associated the material with Ganon Stouch. On March 2nd, 2020, Leticia happened to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She had just dropped her daughter Harley off for an interview at an employment agency. The moment she drove away, law enforcement officers pulled her vehicle over. They arrested her on suspicion of serious offenses related to the case of Ganon Jacob Stouch. Following the arrest, they transported her to a police station to conduct another interview.
There's nothing that happened at any house that...
And then you point to Eduardo, who doesn't exist, or maybe he did exist, and we don't have a last name. Then you point to Quincy Brown, and then you say Uncle Matt, these names and stuff, and it's like...
Why even say anything? Because everything I say, you're going to tell me that, oh, blah, 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 because you want it just like everyone else. Want it to be me. So that way, yeah,
I don't care if
that
it's you
way
or not.
y'all can just go ahead and be the hero and all these things.
I do not get paid one extra dime if it's you. I don't get
Not
paid. I don't
me.
get paid anything else to find Ganon.
Sir,
It's just
not
our
me.
fun.
Not me. I'm not the one. Okay? I am not the one. Not the one.
I do want to help, and whether you did this or not, it doesn't matter to me. You know, if I can't prove a story, whether you tell it to me, Al tells it to me, whether it's El Paso Sheriff's Office, again, I don't take anything as true until I can prove it.
Sir, I'm not taking any chance.
How are you not taking
Because
a chance?
I know the man upstairs knows I did not do anything again.
Well, he's not going to be on the jury.
Okay. All right, we're not going to go there with that.
You believe in that higher power you
Oh, I
said?
do. That's why. You
What
want to
about
know
the
why?
truth? Do
You
you
want to know
study the
why?
truth?
You want to know why I'm not sitting here like going crazy, freaking out, putting on an emotional show like I've seen people involved in this situation put on fake cries and all that? Because I know, God knows, that I did not do anything again.
Okay. Tell me the very last time you laid eyes on him. Where was he? Was he laying down? Was he standing up? Was he sitting? Was he walking to a car? Where was... Give me your very last image of Ganon. That's an easy question. You have to remember your last image of Ganon. Leticia. What was he doing? You know the last time you saw him. What would that hurt to tell me?
For the rest of that interview in South Carolina, Leticia essentially went silent. She barely answered any questions, retreating into silence. But this quiet proved deceptive. When the process of returning her to Colorado extradition began, she showed she had no intention of giving up without a fight. The story hit national news. During a stop in Kansas, an incident occurred in which she became briefly unrestrained and made contact with the escorting officer using an unopened energy drink can. This strange, desperate episode forced them to pause for several hours in the small town of Salina while the officer received medical attention. On March 5th, when they finally got her to Colorado, her husband, Al, made his move. He immediately filed for divorce. For him, everything had ended. Leticia, finding herself before a judge, eventually entered a plea of not guilty. While she awaited trial, insisting on her innocence, the story took another tragic turn, this time near the town of Pace, Florida. You might remember, this happened to be one of her stops during that earlier trip with her daughter. On March 17th, 2020, two Department of Transportation inspectors were conducting a planned, routine inspection of a bridge over the Escambia River. There, under the bridge, they came across an abandoned suitcase and opened it. Ballistic evidence was also identified and later linked to a 9mm firearm recovered from the Stouch home, the same firearm that bore DNA traces associated with Leticia. It seemed like that should have been the end of it, but Leticia continued to await trial. during which time her behavior in jail began to cause concern. Clinical attention was noted, including reported symptoms such as paranoia and hallucinations. She was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. Although it noted adverse experiences in her childhood, which certainly could have affected her mental state, the experts concluded she had the competency to stand trial. Then, in February of 2022, her legal team made a final move. They decided to change her plea to not guilty by reason of insanity, hoping the judge would allow such a turn of events.
Letitia Stout is now pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. Stout will receive a mental evaluation. The defense also filed a motion to waive a jury trial, which is ultimately Stout's decision, and the judge reminded her without a jury, he gets the final say whether Stout is found guilty or not.
To the surprise of many, the judge agreed to this change. He allowed Letitia to plead insanity without even reviewing the results of a new evaluation. This happened despite the fact that a previous assessment of her mental state had clearly established she possessed the full capacity to stand trial. It became a strange, controversial decision that would define the entire course of the proceedings. After that, the case, like so many others at the time, got stuck in legal limbo for a long time due to the COVID pandemic. 3 long years passed before Letitia Stout finally stood before a court. When the trial at last began in April of 2023, the prosecution came ready for a fight. They had a mountain of evidence, over 1,000 pages of documents, 36 witnesses, plus countless video recordings, phone calls, then other pieces of physical evidence. For Letitia's defense team, this was going to be an incredibly difficult battle. Now that she had pleaded insanity, the goals of both sides became crystal clear. The defense's task involved convincing the jury that at the time of the alleged acts, Letitia met the legal standard for an insanity defense and did not understand the nature or wrongfulness of her actions. The state, in turn, had to prove the opposite, that Letitia understood the difference between right and wrong and remained of sound mind in relation to Ganon's death. So, on May 8th, 2023, after a long, grueling 21-day trial, the jurors finally returned to the courtroom. They stood ready to announce their verdict.
All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. May all be seated. With respect to count number 1, we, the jury, find the defendant Letitia Stout guilty of count number 1. With respect to count number 2, we, the jury, find the defendant Letitia Stout guilty of count number 2. With respect to count number 3, we, the jury, find the defendant Letitia Stout guilty of count number 3. With respect to count number 4, charge of tampering with physical evidence, we, the jury, find the defendant Letitia Stout guilty of count number 4, tampering with physical evidence.
The jury found Letitia Stout guilty on all charges. Their verdict left no doubt she hadn't been insane. She was held criminally responsible. With that verdict, Judge Gregory Werner delivered his final sentence. He imposed the harshest penalty permitted, life in prison without the possibility of parole. To that, he added another 13 plus a half years for tampering with evidence and a related charge involving the handling. For her, it all came to an end. Authorities initially held Letitia Stout at the Denver Women's Correctional Facility until August of 2023. She now resides in an undisclosed prison facility in the state of Kansas, where she will, in all likelihood, spend the remainder of her life.
I can, however, say without hesitation that the facts in this case are the most horrific I have ever seen. Your conduct in this case deserves the maximum punishment that I can impose under Colorado law.
Ganon Stout's story serves as a terrible reminder that evil can hide behind the most ordinary of masks. I can only hope the justice ultimately served brings some measure of peace to his family. Thanks so much for watching this one all the way through. Other videos should be popping up on your screen right about now. Go ahead, click on one of those to keep watching. Also, don't forget, if you want to get the Save a Child guide, then learn how to recognize the warning signs. Just drop that plus sign in the comments below.